Hi, I'm James McGuire, and on today's eSpeaks, we're talking about the only topic that anyone is talking about these days when it comes to enterprise tech, which is, of course, artificial intelligence. We'll look at what's driving AI in the enterprise, along with the challenges of this emerging tech and how to handle them. To discuss that, I'm joined by a very special guest. With me is Ram Chakravarti, CTO at BMC Software. Ram, very good to have you with us today.
James, pleasure. Entirely mine. Thank you for inviting me to this August forum and for the 5 cents worth of my ideas and perspectives.
Great. All right, so artificial intelligence, I can't believe the amount of surge of interest that it's getting since ChatGPT came in the scene last November. Mm-hmm. Seems like the amount of headlines, I've never seen more buzz for a new technology than AI. And of course, AI really isn't that new in the enterprise. From where you sit, what trends do you see as companies rush to adopt AI? And they do seem particularly eager to adopt AI these days.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, as you rightly observed, James, this is the topic, the preeminent topic, and AI in general and generative AI specifically have taken the tech world quite by storm, and that impact is being felt across companies. And let's also acknowledge that AI is not new. Companies have been at it for a few years now, but generative AI has served as an even greater catalyst, if I may, in terms of the buzz and the potential opportunity potential that it offers. Now, you probably read as much or more than I have that surveys seem to indicate that CEOs across industries are largely enthused by the potential that Gen AI offers, and are really looking at it as a source of competitive advantage, differentiation, as well as something that promises a lot of productivity gains. Now, on the flip side, in my conversations with CIOs and CTOs, whether they're BMC customers or otherwise, it is evident that they are looking at the benefits of AI, but also weighing the risks from an implementation standpoint, as well as from security, data privacy, accuracy, the ethics, and all of these considerations, given the nascency of generative AI in particular. And then they ask the right questions about implementation and operational considerations, and these are the absolute right questions to consider with new tech such as Gen AI, right? I mean, the promise is that it can automate processes. It does summarization well, captioning, insights, and recommendations, which is kind of what we are at the forefront of as an enterprise software company as well. But you also need to consider that a layperson looking at an OpenAI, ChatGPT, or something else to get responses is very different from enterprise use cases, right? So that's where the AI models, the choice of the AI model, and more importantly, the choice of the enterprise knowledge repository or the training data really comes into hyper focus. And this is where internal data sets become super important. And while the benefits are compelling, you also want to kind of consider the downside if you have misuse, flawed outputs, leakage of sensitive data, or inherent biases because of a poorly trained model, right? And for example, if these models are trained over time on and feed on self-generated data, that has a set of negative consequences as well. Mm-hmm. So that's the way I look at it. People are basically in the early stages, and our customers are looking at us in terms of, okay, you are a trusted partner. We've done business with you, and you're talking about Gen AI. What is it that you can provide? And it's not just providing something, but how can you help us implement and operationalize this? That's where it really becomes real.
You know, curious, you talked about talking to a lot of executives about AI and generative AI. Do you get the sense that they really are very eager to invest right now? Or, of course, they've been somewhat interested in investing all along for several years, but do you think is it a real new eagerness, or is it like, well, we know we need to, but we're still going to think about it a bit more? What's your sense on that angle?
Yeah. No, great question. I think it's a pragmatic approach. People are intensely curious, and rightly so. I think a lot of them the onus is on the vendors that are basically inclusive of ourselves, who believe that there is an opportunity, and we believe that we offer something differentiated. So the onus is then put on vendors such as us to prove what is it that is different about us. And so I would characterize it as a pragmatic approach for the most part with our customers.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned, go ahead, please.
Yeah, the point being that, okay, come in, do some hand holding. Let's start with a use case. Let's do a proof of concept. Show me the value, a quick win. Then let's start talking about adoption across the board or scaling it up. Plus, there are multiple people. So what do I want to choose? What foundational model do I want to choose? Those are all considerations that they're grappling with.
You mentioned the challenges, and I think, of course, they're numerous. There's sometimes the Gen AI programs are inaccurate. There's bias. Sometimes employees put in proprietary information, and that causes all sorts of problems. What's a particularly big challenge that the companies face when they choose to deploy AI, as you see it?
Great question. I mean, there is a multitude of challenges, right? So I'm going to put them in three categories and then elaborate on a couple of them.
Sure.
The three categories are organizational. The second is data and technology. The third is what I call operational. And organizational challenges, I'll highlight 3 or 4. Lack of executive support or waning executive support is one. Second is the talent and skill shortage that organizations face. The third is it's inadequately funded from a budget standpoint. And fourth, in this macro environment, there can be a change in business mandate and priorities. So fatigue sets in, and particularly if you don't deliver value against the promise that you offered. So those are some of the organizational challenges. From a data and tech standpoint, data quality is by far the biggest issue, and I'll elaborate a little more on that. Data availability becomes another important consideration because you need the right data to train the model and for the inferences that you can get. And then, of course, you need to integrate these with your existing systems and new sources of data, and that by itself presents a fair bit of challenges. The spotlight, particularly with generative AI, is even more so on the quality of the data that flows through these analytics pipelines, as an example. And then from an operational consideration, there's infrastructure performance. What we talked about or alluded to earlier, ethics and biases come into play. The regulatory and legal considerations also come into play. So let me maybe elaborate on a couple of these, right? So data quality, absolute biggie, and most people look at this as the number one challenge, right? The point here is that if companies apply AI and generative AI in the wrong use cases and with bad data, the consequences can be severe: misuse, flawed outputs, leakage of sensitive data that I alluded to. And the ramifications from a business standpoint are disruptions to the business, compromised data integrity, and seriously a loss of reputational risk with customer dissatisfaction. So that's from a data quality standpoint. From an operational consideration standpoint, the challenges are about ensuring reasonable implementation and addressing vulnerabilities as well as IP concerns. So particularly in AI-generated responses. Issues such as hallucinations that are related to security, as well as ensuring that sensitive data is not leaked, are other additional big considerations. My takeaway in response to your larger question is that LLMs are still at a nascent stage. There is tremendous hype. A lot of it is justified over large language models because they allow end users to interact with systems much like I'm talking to a friend or a colleague. Maybe it's a little bit of a hyperbole on my part, but you get the point.
Right.
And it's a potential for democratization of what were seemingly complex tasks at one point in time is considerable. Now, what I would suggest is basically organizations should really look to apply AI to very specific use cases using domain-specific models. When I say use cases, these are enterprise use cases using domain-specific models that can deliver immediate value or quick wins. And your prior question to tie all this back together, they can't expect nirvana. It's not going to wholesale transformation, and reaping the benefits is not going to happen overnight. But again, have a structured approach that can potentially help you. That's the way I look at it.
Well, I think the really interesting point there that a lot of companies are grappling with is the idea of the large language model. It seems like it's getting to this state where do we need to build our own large language model, or our competitors' LLM is larger than ours, and maybe ours is not as specific. What is your sense if companies are grappling with do we need to create our own large language model? What's your sense of that?
Yeah. So large language models are popular. It's about the right horse for the right course, right? It's really about the enterprise knowledge repository that you have for the training of the model. And it can even be a small language model. But here is the fundamental issue that I see. Particularly when we talk to our customers, they are busy running their business and doing a whole bunch of IT and operational things that are fundamentally important to run the business. They don't, not many of them have the wherewithal to go and pursue a line of investigation or the skills in-house necessarily at scale, because people are busy doing other things, to dedicate the time to go and build this from the ground up. And that's where we basically look at it in terms of, to the extent that we can help fast track it with domain-specific large language models that we've pre-built and then can integrate with their enterprise knowledge repositories and train, it gives them a head start and not necessarily an issue of a comparative difference between me versus my competitor in terms of my ability to build something from the ground up.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I think I want to ask the question that would maybe take 4 hours to really answer fully, but I'll ask it to you anyways. Okay. So you've talked about this a bit, but what advice do you give to companies as they seek to optimize artificial intelligence? It's a big topic. They know they need AI for competitive advantage, but what should they be thinking about as they really make the best of it?
Yeah. So here is my take, right? It's not just about AI, it's about orchestrating complex data pipelines and building on your existing technology investments to streamline information delivery for each use case. And these become inherently important to achieving growth and competitive advantage or whatever else your desired business outcomes, right? And companies have immense amounts of data that's only growing exponentially by the day, and used the right way to add business value and or monetize, this becomes the fuel that drives differentiation and increases operational efficiency. But there is a challenge. The data is complex. So how can companies harness the data to the benefit that they desire without creating incredible strain, both in terms of the technical strain as well as the resource strain? And the second important question is also, how can companies use technology investments that they've already made and kind of extend the scope of their technology investments? I don't want to use the term modernize, but it kind of is modernizing in some way and advancing what they deliver. And AI is the answer to that, right? So the way I look at it is very simplistically, AI and data are intertwined. You need good data to train AI, without which the AI method is of little value. Conversely, with the constantly increasing complexity of data, it's difficult for humans to fully unlock the value. And that's where AI is required to unlock value from data. And ultimately, if you really distill it down to the basics, AI enables two categories of use cases. One, make existing things better or improve outcomes for existing use cases. And number two, make new use cases possible that were inconceivable a while back. Mm-hmm. So my advice to customers against all this backdrop is, there is really no foolproof approach given how quickly the technology is evolving and new things are coming by, and it's an even more exponential storm of technology that's being foisted on them. Mm-hmm. So the guidelines then are abide by good design and implementation principles to conquer complexity. One, use case driven approach based on value and time to realize value. Second, not just innovation, but operationalizing innovation. Number three, use the right horse for the right course. In other words, use the right AI method and do not over-index on the technology. Number four, don't boil the ocean, as the cliche goes. Start small with 1 to 3 high-value use cases and ensure that these are feasible. The data is available, the data quality is good, appropriate AI methods and tools are open. Invest in the data quality at the outset for these use cases. And tying this back to the skill shortage, go with trusted partners at the outset and even over the course of time. Put the onus on them to help you deliver quick wins as well as scale and operationalize. And this includes not just enterprise software vendors such as us, but implementation partners as well. Like you observed, I could probably go for hours on this. I'll leave it with just one more. It's a bonus if you have the killer resource. What do I mean by the killer resource? It's a resource that has the judicious mix of both the technical expertise as well as the functional domain expertise. That is the resource that's going to make a difference. Otherwise, you're going to waste cycles on bringing in external technical help, internal functional domain help. And that kind of flies in the face of a quick win, as well as internal ownership of the asset or the use case and value delivered, and from a longer term standpoint. Those are some of my advice. That's some of what I would advise customers.
Yeah, good points to be sure. I think the one that sometimes doesn't get as much attention is what you said about data, is that it seems like before artificial intelligence came along and took up all the headlines, the big topic was data analytics. It was what everyone was talking about. And really, that hasn't gone away. It's actually even more important in the world of AI. I mean, if you want to get involved with AI and make the most of AI, you need, as you say, a solid data infrastructure. That's really a big part of the piece.
Yeah, absolutely, James. Right, wrong, or otherwise, the spotlight on good quality data is going to be even greater. So it behooves organizations to, if they haven't already, to invest in their data infrastructure, ensuring that data quality and availability are, I don't want to say a given, but you're reasonably confident of those aspects before you embark on the new use cases that you want to drive with AI.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk about BMC in particular. So how is BMC addressing the AI needs of its clients? It's a big job, to be sure.
Yes, it's pretty daunting, and we're up for the challenge. But let me maybe give you a little bit of a perspective on our view and how it drives every investment decision that we make, right? We at BMC, we believe that every company continues to be on a tech transformation journey, the destination to which we define as the autonomous digital enterprise. So our mission is to help our customers in this journey by harnessing the power of AI to unlock business value from data by bringing best-in-class capabilities in our domains of expertise, these being observability, orchestration, and automation, as well as ensuring the resilience of their hybrid technology landscape. So we encapsulate the value that we deliver in a term that we've defined as connected digital ops. And this becomes the umbrella framework, which comprises 5 areas of innovation for us. And these 5 areas are AI ops, service ops, DevOps, data ops, and autonomous ops. So I would basically say that we are hyper-focused on harnessing the power of new technologies, specifically AI, to exploit intelligence as well as the need for speed and flexibility while balancing quality within a customer's environment. And we've embedded AI in pretty much everything that we do across these 5 focus areas, and generative AI in particular. So I'll outline this with 2 aspects of our product innovation that is emblematic of the larger AI-driven product innovation, or better said, maybe harnessing the power of AI and data to deliver value for our customers in our domains of expertise. So number 1, observability and AI ops. We offer 2 AI ops solutions, BMC Helix AI ops for distributed systems and BMC AMI AI ops for the mainframe. And they both are based on a common Helix platform as a foundation. And we offer 5 areas of differentiation in our AI ops solution. One is open observability and high availability, highly scalable, cloud native, microscale services-based data ingestion platform, right? And what we do is we provide full stack observability here, where it's not just your usual suspects such as metrics, logs, events, and traces. We also integrate APM data, network data, mainframe data to ensure that full stack observability is provided. That's differentiator 1. Differentiator 2, automated service modeling, which ties an overarching business service to all the technology components that enable that business service. Number 3, causal AI for better business outcomes. Root cause analysis with AI is one such example, and it's an example of doing a traditional use case better. In other words, making existing things better, which I talked about. Number 4, a category of AI use cases that we call predictive AI for continuous service optimization. And this is an example of AI making new things possible, where the AI is constantly working, looking for patterns in data and identifying service insights that they may not be aware of. And it acts as an extension of the organization. And it could potentially tell you, based on historical data analysis, that a service degradation is possible next week on Thursday between 7 and 8 a.m. or something like that for a particular business service because of device X, as well as recommending a set of corrective actions. So that's our value proposition in observability and AI ops. And what we've achieved as a result of that is an industry-leading position. A recent Forrester Wave as of June 2023 put us firmly as the leader in process-centric AI ops. So that's bucket 1. The second is a huge thrust in generative AI. And this is an area of focus across service ops, DevOps, and autonomous ops, in addition to AI ops and data ops. So back in, generative AI is not new to BMC, right? So we've had generative AI capabilities as part of our Helix service ops solution suite for more than a year. And we made the formal announcement of BMC Helix GPT, which is our domain-specific large language model that we rolled out. And we've got a bevy of use cases. And we are working on a whole slew of use cases across service ops, AI ops, automation, and a whole host of others, and DevOps also, to enhance the SRE experience with BMC Helix GPT. So the point is, we have our domains of expertise are clear. So we are focusing on our domains of expertise and customers' enterprise knowledge repositories. So it's not world knowledge repositories, regardless of what foundation model that we deploy at our customers, based on our customer's choice or based on our choice, right? And it varies based on the customer. On top of this, what we do is we train the model with the enterprise knowledge. So you're basically limiting the knowledge sets to enterprise knowledge repositories. So you're already minimizing hallucinations and other things that can come from world knowledge repositories. But that's not all. We've got 3 sets of guardrails that we put from the outset with respect to training and fine-tuning the model, which I talked about. Second is a prompt engineering and a context grounding layer. And the third is an additional safety layer that basically eliminates anything that might seem erroneous based on the response to a query. So we're doing all of that, and the proof of the pudding is in the eating. And we've had tremendous conversations with customers, tremendously positive conversations with customers in terms of interest. But again, it's early stages. The onus is on us to go and help them, handhold as needed, deploy and operationalize, and help them realize value. That's how I look at it.
Mm-hmm. Wow, I think you said it. I appreciate the product rundown and also the advice about deploying AI. As you say, it's early stages. I think companies will need a lot of help with this. They'll be looking for help. Thank you for sharing your expertise today, and please come back and talk with us again sometime.
My pleasure, James. It's always a pleasure to interact with you and the folks at eWEEK. So I'm up for it. Would love to have a follow-up conversation, and thanks again for inviting me.